All right. Is that coming up now? I see us live. Cool. All right. Little hiccup there, folks, for people that know me. I stream on the dev Twitch stream too, and I accidentally started this stream on the dev stream. So, anyways, my name is Nick Taylor. I'm a lead software engineer at Forum. I'm hanging out with my buddy Matt Foley today. We're continuing some work on building out a GitHub action. I think that might have been Matt's phone going off. I'm not sure. All good, all good. Cool. Yeah, so hey Matt, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's a beautiful day in sunny North Carolina today. You can see
Cool,
just
cool.
a little bit of the leaf colors, so I'm loving it.
Nice,
Anyway,
nice. Yeah. Here, not so much, well, kind of sunny. I was a little blinded today, but during the stream, but it's getting a little colder here on the East Coast in California. Not California, what am I talking about? Montreal. I wish I was in California. All right. Thanks for the follow, no Rainu. I think my brain's just a little sizzled from the stream from before, but anyways, it's
that's
all good.
because you just wish you were in California all the time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So like I mentioned, we're building out a GitHub action. I don't know if you want to maybe kind of recap kind of what we were working on. I know we didn't progress too far last week, but we kind of talked about what the project was, and maybe you can give us a quick TLDR about that.
Sure. So where we left off last time, we were working inside of Nick's repo Nicky T online / epic actions, and we
Yeah, I'll
were kind
drop
of
that
working
link.
on a feature branch. What's that?
I said I'll just drop the link
Oh,
in the chat. And
So we were working on a feature branch on this repo, and in general, what we're trying to do is work on a GitHub action that will be triggered when somebody gets a pull request merged. And what we're looking for is, was this the first pull request that the person had? And do they have a Twitter username? And can we kind of celebrate that by sending out a tweet? So
yeah,
that's
exactly. It's what? Sorry, go ahead, Matt. There was a bit of delay there. That's my fault for
oh, no.
interrupting.
In terms of where we left off, we had, inside that feature branch, we had gone ahead and kind of created a folder inside of the repo and started on an action.yaml file to define the GitHub action. And you might have it pulled up already, I don't know, but we had kind of gotten just some basic properties defined for the action, and that's sort of where we left off.
Yeah, I can pull that up here. Let me just share my screen. All right, let's go up here. All right, so folks should be able to see it. I'll just make that a little bigger for folks. And I am sharing the wrong screen. All right, I'm sharing a browser screen, just not the right one. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. Would help if I share the right one. Cool, cool. All right, so we got the right one now, because okay. So also, before we get started, I just want to mention this is the first time I'm using the vscode.dev website or application to actually run live share. So I think it's pretty cool that that's up and running. I'm connected to Matt's live share connection right now, so we're seeing what Matt's got running up on his computer. Yeah. So before we get started, I'll just mention something else, which is it's literally coincidence, but I'm gonna be on Twitter Space tomorrow with the GitHub community. I'm gonna drop the link there. If anybody's interested in GitHub Actions, check that out. B Dougie's gonna be on there with me, and I believe his coworker Andrea. I'm by no means a GitHub Action expert, but we're gonna be talking about them. So come by and say hi. It says December 12th in the tweet, but it's supposed to be November 12th, which is tomorrow. Cool, cool. So yeah, okay. So you were talking about the YAML file here. So just to refresh, so the YAML file is pretty much how you construct the GitHub action, right?
Yeah, and actually, I was thinking about it when I was driving home today before we got on stream, and there's really two YAML files to speak of here. And so one of them is where you define sort of the guts and the way that your action would look like maybe on the GitHub marketplace. So like,
Okay.
we talked last time about branding and what the name of it was and the icon and all that stuff. But you also define things like what we're reading here, that's the file we have pulled up, is the action.yml.
Okay.
You might define inputs and outputs and all that stuff. So again, it's kind of the guts and the logic of it. This might refer to other files in your repo and stuff like that to have the inner workings going. But what this file really doesn't know anything about is what context it's running in yet. So
Okay.
the event, like, the context that we're looking at here, the use case is we want to run when a pull request gets merged. And
Yeah.
when you're working on this action.yaml file in here, you don't really say, oh, this is running when a pull request gets closed or merged or opened or whatever. That's actually on a workflow.
Okay.
So the workflow file is the one that I think we talked a little bit about it last week. That's the one that goes inside of the folder .github/workflows. And then you can
Okay.
put however many different workflows you want that refer to however many different actions.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Is that
And yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I like that. Again, I'm still, kind of new to these, but I like how you can run this in different contexts, like you were saying, like, because we could write this
Mhm.
thing, and if, we obviously we don't want to run it in the context of an issue. We want to run it in the case of like when there's a pull request and its status gets switched to merge, I guess. Like we'll see how that all plays out, but I really like how it's versatile and that it can be used for lots of things. Like yesterday, I added one to one of the open source projects I work on, and it's just an auto respond comment. So
Mhm.
when somebody opens up an issue, and it just says automatically, "Oh, thanks for opening up the issue. Please check out the contributing guide. We'll get back to you." Something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what I wrote. So I like that you can automate a lot of things. And I remember, I think it was when I was talking to B Dougie on the dev stream, but or I think you actually mentioned it. A lot of people associate it with CI/CD, so continuous integration and continuous deployment, but it's not just for that.
Right.
Like in our example, we're doing something where we want to find out if it's a first time contributor, and if they do have a Twitter account in their GitHub profile, we're gonna just tweet out and say, hey, thanks for contributing to the code base. So I like how
Mhm.
it's it it's very extensible is what I'm saying basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned it a minute ago. You were editing, you were kind of doing like a one-off or like a pretty straightforward thing where you said it was like an auto response thing. And I think actually
Yeah.
you can do what you were describing where you're actually just editing a workflow file and you make it do some things that you want. When you get
Yeah.
into a situation where you're like trying to reuse the same actions across a bunch of different repos or orgs, or you want to make it so other people can kind of benefit from the work that you've done, that's when you start to get into this, okay, let me define an action.yaml and have it inside of a repo and maybe do a release
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like, I mean, not to sound cheesy, but like it's really, really restricted by your imagination. Like, I know, I know B Dougie did some funny things, like because he's a big fan of Beyonce, so he has a lot. I think he has some GitHub actions related to Beyonce, and I know he has his like his favorite people, I think, on GitHub, and then he displays them in
Mhm.
there, and like we talked last time, I didn't write this GitHub action. It's an action I incorporated into my README, the special README file where I just bring in my own content. So it'll say like, here's a stream I did, here's a blog post. So it's really like pretty much anything you can think of almost. I mean, I'm sure there's some limitations, but I have no idea what they are right now.
Mhm. Yep. Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So we kind of explained what's going on, what we're gonna do, kind of what the GitHub actions are, and kind of recap the configuration and
Mhm.
stuff. So, what are you thinking of tackling today in terms of the project?
So I think what I'd like to try to do is just finish like doing sort of the skeleton of this action.yaml file, and then it would be good if there was a way for us to go ahead and set up a workflow file, maybe even in the
Okay.
same repo or maybe in a different repo that refers to this one. So
Okay.
if you look, I don't know if you can see this approach.md file that I've got started.
Yeah, no, the live share is following wherever you go, so I see it. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. We were talking a few minutes ago about the workflow file and the action YAML file, and if my voice is hard to hear right now, there's somebody with a leaf blower right next door.
No worries.
Anyway, the action file is going to get referred to, like, at least in our example right now. This is kind of long, but it is what it is. It's going to be your Nikki T online / epic -actions / tweet first merge bash is the subfolder that, or the subdirectory that we're in. And then
Okay.
you've got the @ sign that refers to this feature branch.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
that
And
that would be how that would kind of work.
okay, and right now we're using a feature branch, but like once we got this
Mhm.
merged after the @ symbol, we would have like a version number there potentially, or the main
Yeah,
file.
actually, this is one thing that I think we talked about for a few minutes before. The answer to your question is yes. We talked about this for a few minutes last time, but essentially, if you wanted to do like a marketplace kind of situation where you release this to onto a marketplace or onto the actions marketplace, and you
Yeah.
wanted it to be like a reusable thing, self-contained, the repo and the action would be kind of one-to-one. So if you have like a mono repo, then what you're doing is you're going to refer to the org, the repo, and then like a subdirectory, and maybe a tag or maybe not, and that would
Okay.
handle the versioning, so to speak. But if you had a mono repo, there's not really a way to delineate between multiple different actions and their individual versions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they're all the same version of whenever the last
Right.
one was deployed.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes
Right.
complete sense.
That's all.
Yeah. I hadn't I hadn't considered it when I created the repo. I just said, "Hey, I'll just make a repo that'll be a bunch of actions." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Makes sense.
But yeah. But I guess the beauty of open source is we can always iterate on it and switch it up.
Yeah,
But
no doubt.
yeah. Yeah, I think what would be interesting is if we build out this first action. And then at
Hmm.
some point when we get around to, I'm just assuming maybe we won't, but the next time we just say, hey, let's create another action, maybe at that point
Hmm.
we can visit like, how do we, maybe this is the time to, break it up so that we can, version different ones. I don't know. Or like you said, maybe each action is a repo itself. I don't know, versus
Yep.
the mono repo. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can just jack up that repo count on your profile. Just keep adding them,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, all right, awesome. So this is the Markdown file you said. So I guess at this point, we kind of talked a bit about it last time where we can compose a GitHub action out of other actions, like using the uses, I believe it was, section in the
Yep, that's
action
right.
YAML. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay,
So
cool.
I think
Yeah, go ahead.
if
Sorry.
you in that Markdown file, that second link, creating a composite action. I don't know if that's something you can pull up on your screen.
Yeah, I got it loaded up here. I'll just zoom it in a bit. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's loaded up for folks to see at home. It should, yeah, it got bigger there.
Cool. So that one, let me load it up also so I can see it. If you scroll down a little bit, there's this like second section maybe called creating an action metadata file. And this is showing kind of some of the syntax that we're going to use. And you can see in this action.yaml file that they have as an example, it's got some of the things that we've already covered.
Yeah.
And so this one's kind of similar in terms of what we're going to do with it. You got the input of who to greet, and instead we would be saying like what the tweet template would be. Outputs, we're probably not going to do much with it within the action itself, but we might have the steps of the
Hmm.
action kind of talk to each other with inputs and outputs. And then you've got the runs using composite. That using thing is actually the thing that I completely missed last time and forgot about.
Okay.
And on your side, the syntax highlighting was like lighting up, but I didn't have the plugin, so I didn't know.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
anyway,
Shout out to tooling.
which I installed it, so now I'm gonna hopefully stay out of trouble. Anyway, the steps there is gonna be like your sequential steps, and you can see like some of them have IDs, that refer to each other back and forth. So this is kind of the skeleton of what we would make, and we just craft it to be what we need. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. And I guess if we talk through the steps, I guess well, first we would know that we would be using the context of it being a pull request, like you mentioned.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. So what we would have then is, I think in that, yeah, great question. If you look in the first link within that references thing that I had in the approach.md file, that one talks about that pull request target event.
okay, yeah, I pulled that up for the folks to see at home. Okay, so
Yep.
this event runs in the context of the base of the pull request. That makes sense. Okay. And I'm just scrolling down to check out the
Mhm.
activity types. So
Yep. So this is
automation.
where it's kind of cool. I've kind of learned this as part of like doing a little bit of research into this action, is that the pull request event that we're looking for is actually closed. It's not merged. The
Okay, yeah,
merged representation is actually somewhere else. So
that
in
makes
general, though,
sense.
what's that?
I said that makes sense because a merged one is closed. It's just, I guess it's a
Hmm.
sub status.
Yeah, there's a true false flag that you can get, at the point of when the PR gets closed, and you can check was it merged or not. So
Okay.
what I had in there as a note, like in this approach, is that we would, where did I put it? It was somewhere in here. I was saying like, okay, we should use the pull request target event. It should make sure the PR is merged, but you could
Yeah.
turn off that merged flag to test it. Like you could
Yeah.
trigger the action by opening or closing the PR, and then you could see how it behaved.
Yeah. I think that would be a good way to test it just because so you don't have to keep opening and closing PRs. Well,
Yeah.
you could actually you could have one pull request like that's the other question I have is like I'm curious. Oh, my mic went low again, really? Oh, please tell me you've been able to hear me the whole time, Vortex. Oh yeah, my mic's showing up. I think I just moved away a bit. Okay, let me get back there. Yeah, I like one way we could do it is we could just have one pull request and we just keep opening and closing it just so you can keep getting the action of fire. And then like once we're
Um,
happy with the state of it, we
yeah.
could at that point add the like and if it's merged, like with that boolean. The
Yeah. That's probably the way that I would do it, but I will say that anybody could tell me differently, and I would totally believe you that there's a
yeah.
better way to do it.
Well,
But yeah, that would
well,
be my inclination.
yeah. Well, the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I'm curious what like best practices for testing a GitHub action are because I honestly don't know. Because to me, like if I think about it, if like as soon as you open a pull request or like you open an issue in a repository, it's there forever. There's no delete issue, there's no delete pull request. It's either open or closed with
Yeah.
other states to it potentially. So I feel like having a test repo is the way you do it, but I don't, almost like a throwaway repository just to test
Hmm.
it. And I almost wonder in the case of like assuming this got automated at some point, like you build your workflow, you deploy it, maybe you have the GitHub CLI that runs to say create a repo under me, it's private, you know, open a pull request, deploy the workflow, the GitHub action we built to
Hmm.
that particular repository created, and then
Hmm.
you know once the pull request is created, the fake, not fake one, but just like a dummy one, that workflow
Yep.
kicks in, and then we somehow check like the status, or like I don't know, we'd have to check. We couldn't check like was it tweeted out because that's kind of like it's a
Hmm.
third party thing at that point. It's like out of the scope of the workflow to some degree. But
Right.
I
Right.
am curious like what's like a good way to test it, but like that's just me spitballing. I feel like that, but like I mean I think for now if we just have like one like pull
Hmm.
request that just lives in our repository forever just to always use it as a test one, that would probably work too. So
Yeah, it would work to a degree. So the other thing that I've kind of thought about is like, and I didn't write it down, but the trick with it being for the first pull request.
Yeah.
There's two different ways that I could think of to like look for that particular case. And by the way, I know we were going to be building stuff, but I think it's good that we're kind of talking about the ins and outs of it and like
Oh yeah, no,
what
100%. And like,
nuance.
we don't have to code everything out right now. It's totally cool.
Yeah. So the other nuance that I've kind of been thinking about lately is that there's an action that's referred to, and on here it's on the approach document. It's line 23 action slash first interaction. That one, it spits out the action that you're using there. It spits out an output of true and false. And
Okay.
if the context that you're running in is a PR, or if it's an issue, that kind of determines like whether it's looking at PRs or issues, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And what
Yeah.
it's doing is it's trying to figure out, is this the oldest PR or issue that you have on this repo? What it does is I've looked through the code for it. It's iterative, so it's going to look through all of the PRs or all of the issues, I think, and it's trying to
Okay.
figure out, like, okay, are you the author of it? And now that I know who the author is, I get to check against everything else that
Okay.
anybody's ever done. And if you're the author and I don't find one that's older, then okay, this is the first one.
Yeah. I gotcha.
What I think might be also doable is I had researched this a little bit. You can use the GitHub search API to search for contributions that are a pull request by a specific author on a specific repo. And
Okay.
that would kind of accomplish the same thing, because what would happen is you would get a result set and you could just count the number of results. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, because
So,
because you don't want to be going through all the PRs every time. Because like imagine a repository that's like, for example, like the forum code base. I think we're hitting like probably in the I think the current issue or PR number is like 14 or 15,000 something. So like that's a lot of stuff to go through. I mean, I know probably half of them are issues and half are PRs or some sliced up somehow, but it's still a lot. So you definitely don't want to have to go through all of them. Yeah. So yeah, I think yeah, just for the sake of the action to be able to run in a I guess an acceptable amount of time, we would definitely need a smaller set to be working with to find.
right. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Instead of using the actions first interaction, I put like the title as we could use, because we could use it, but I don't know if we will. I'm going to try and use the search feature instead. And I mean, there you're really putting it back. The onus goes back onto the search indexing that GitHub's going to have. But as I've tested
Yeah.
it, like when I've put a PR on my own repo, that search does, reveal that, or it does list that PR. The other thing
Yeah.
that makes that a little bit more testable is that you're dealing with a number. And so in
Mm-hmm.
theory, you could actually just bump the number one up a little bit, just, use it
Okay. Yeah.
to, actually, I'm still on the second or third one. Well, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a good idea to do something along those lines, and we can iterate over it if we find something better. But it sounds pretty good for now.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay. So then switching back, I guess we were talking through sort of the syntax on that action.yaml, and the only other thing that kind of pointed out, but is in this example that they give on this GitHub docs, is you can see the steps kind of talking back and forth to one another. So
Yeah.
you've got three steps listed there, and one of them's just hello. The next one is you set an output, and then the next one is saying goodbye or whatever. But what happens there is that the output, or the set output, which is the second one, it sets
Mm-hmm.
the random ID value to some random number, and I guess that might get used in a different input.
Yeah, because at that point, that's available globally within the action, I guess.
Well, I think it's within
Within
the
the
work.
workflow. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So if there's a workflow file that's calling on this action, it can then leverage whatever comes out of that random ID
Okay.
named input. But there's also
Yeah.
ways to kind of refer between steps to each other's output, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And so those are They're kind of
And
like,
actually, you can actually see it. I'm sorry. In the outputs, a little bit further up, the output's a random number. It refers to the steps.
oh
And
yeah, you're
anyway,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Okay,
yeah. Okay,
cool. Yeah.
we're back to speed then. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No, it's all good. And on top of that, we also have the environment variables for the workflow, right? Like we can get like the
Mhm.
repository name and all that. We may or may not need that.
Yeah. So I think from what I've seen here, the way that you would probably use that, and I put my little cheat sheet up above because I'd kind of done like a little bit of toying around with this thing. If I
Yeah.
remember right, you're using the org and the repo in the search to try to figure out, is it the first interaction or is it the first PR issue or whatever. So this would be
Yeah.
the first PR, and it would use that org and that repo name to try to figure that out. Pass it to the
Okay.
search parameter. So
Yeah, cool. All right. So we've got on your lines 22 and 23 there. So first interaction,
yeah,
that's the
sorry.
name. Is that an existing action or that's what we're going to call our action?
Okay, so line 22 here, divined go Twitter action. That's
Yeah.
one that I think we can use to actually send the tweet.
Yeah.
So I think what you want, or what I'd like to do, is we want to have the first step is to validate and spit out a tweet message that's been like kind of formatted with the username or nothing. Like that's what I would kind
Okay.
of suggest. Okay, it spits
Gotcha.
out a blank if they're either it's not the first PR, user doesn't have a Twitter account or a Twitter username listed or whatever. For whatever reason, we shouldn't send a tweet. So let's just send a blank piece of string there. And then the second step would be to tweet, but only if that string isn't.
Okay. Gotcha.
So the second step would use the divined or I don't know how to say that. Divined go
Okay.
Twitter action at V102. And
Okay.
I've looked,
Gotcha.
I saw like, I've seen several different ones that are just you pass in your Twitter secrets like API keys and stuff like that. And I've seen probably two or three at least actions in the marketplace that's all you do. I've seen some
Okay.
that have like media files that you could use. I guess you can maybe refer to media files in the repo. I don't know. Anyway, there's
You
options there.
could. You could, I get, as long as the divine or divinged, whatever it's called, as long as
Yeah,
it
I don't know.
accepts attachment, yeah, you
Well,
can have assets in the repo that you could probably reference. I don't see why not, but
yeah, I when I looked at this one, the Divine one, it just accepts a message, like a status, or maybe the word is message. I can't remember what the name of the input is. And then
yeah,
I've looked at other ones, and I think the other ones that I'd seen accepted like media files as well. But anyway, I guess
okay,
the point is like that's kind of the neat thing about some of these actions that you could just have drop-in replacements where you maybe play with the input names or whatever just to get them up and running. But anyway, yeah, that's the second step of what we would do.
yeah, exactly. Okay, and then it brings up another point, which like we'll get to that as well, but we'll need to document all this. Like, we'll
Mhm.
have to tell whoever wants to use this action, please go
Mhm.
to the Twitter developers, create a token, all that stuff. I have some documentation on that I can pull out of the forum documentation because we have that too
Oh, yeah.
for like allowing for Twitter login and stuff. But we can do that. Yeah, once we know all the pieces, we can definitely add the documentation for that too, because that's super helpful. You don't want people kind of scrambling trying to figure out how everything works. And folks who are watching or who catch future streams, if ever you see issues in the documentation, feel free to open up a pull request. Documentation is just as important as code. Don't let anybody else tell you that. Okay, so then for the CLIs, so we got
Yeah, I
curl.
noted a
Okay,
few of these, and we'll get into them a little bit more. But in general, like if we were gonna do this as a bash action, which is kind of what we're talking about doing, like doing this in the form of sort of shell script ish things, curl would be
mhm,
one thing that we would use. And so I wrote down like something where okay, you're gonna call curl silent with a header given your authorization, your GitHub token, and then it would call out
okay,
the URL. So we'll use that for two or three things. The
Yeah.
tr command, I think it trims off quotes is what this one would do. Tr-d, and then you got your escaped quote. JQ, I actually don't remember what this is called other than
Yeah.
JQ, but it's
I
a
don't even know
command
what it
line
is.
utility for working with JSON. Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
command line utility for working with JSON, and so what you would do is you could chain the output from the curl call to the GitHub API. You could
Okay.
chain that JSON output to JQ, and then what it would do is it would look for the property or field or whatever it's called, Twitter username.
Okay.
So that's
That's super
like
handy.
one thing. Yeah, exactly. I really picked up on this from some contributions that I'd done a couple of months ago, and as in one of B Dougie's repos. It was something that we were using on OpenSauce, and I can't remember what exactly the context was, but it was like making one of his existing actions just a little bit more configurable, if you will. Like it gave it like an
Okay.
extra it gave it an extra, lever or whatever. And
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
was looking through the code base, he had a lot of curl calls and a lot of these JQ calls and TRs and stuff chained together. And
Okay.
so the way that these would kind of go together is actually you would take let's just say, for example, that it was calling a URL that gave the profile for the GitHub user.
Okay, yeah. So
So
pipe it in there.
JQ, you'd grab the Twitter username out, but it would come as a string that had quotes on it. And so then you pull
Yeah.
off the quote. So that's what that
Okay.
chain would kind of do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then on your line 30 there right now, that you echo to set the output, which would set a variable available in the workflow, right?
Yeah. So where that would come into play is if we wanted to, we talked earlier about like what I think would be good is we could make sort of the validation step, just make sure it has all the pieces in play, and then it spits out the message that you want to tweet. So this is what we
Okay.
would use within Bash to set the output of that step to like that tweet message or whatever. And that way the next step could pick that up and use it.
Hmm. Okay,
Does that make
gotcha.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, makes total sense.
So
Okay, cool. So, yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And I know we had talked about this like in Discord or on a Zoom call, I can't remember where, but originally when I set up the repo, just because I'm a big fan of JavaScript and TypeScript, so I just set up the repo that way. But I definitely agree with you that going the going the bash way seems to be quicker,
mm,
and we seem to have all the tools to do what we need. Like we can pull out the Twitter username from the GitHub profile. We can set
mhm,
that, and then we can have another variable which is our template message. And then I guess at that
mhm,
point with the defined action, we would
mhm,
use that the username that we get, because that's who we're going to tweet to. Once we set up the Twitter application with the token, it would tweet
mhm,
on behalf of an account
mhm.
and tweet out to them.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and this is stuff we would need to document too. Like you want it to tweet off of the account that that you would want to, you know what I mean? It might be your own account, but
Mhm.
like if you're doing this
Yeah.
for your organization, like for example, like
Right.
dev 2, it would be the practical dev one. So just mindful of like where you create the application, I guess, in the context of the Twitter app. Cool, cool.
Yeah. That makes sense. You don't want it to be so dangerous, right? That it's gonna start.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
And
the
good.
yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say I have a test Twitter account, so once we do get to that point, we can use
Hmm.
that, or if you have one, we can use yours, regardless.
I don't.
No, I
We did it really fast.
I
Not
I
that
created
matters.
one because I created this browser extension for Twitter, so that because
Mm,
like in terms of accessibility, people tend to forget putting alt text on images, and
mm,
so I have this thing that like if you go to tweet and you have an image, it prompts you. You don't have to, but it'll prompt you like, hey, you forgot to add alt text and stuff. And anyways, I tested all that because initially I was testing it out of my own account, and then I'm like, it didn't occur to me because I was doing this late at night. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm
mhm.
spamming people that follow me with like test messages, so I just created a test account. But
Gotcha. So I was gonna start pasting just a little bit of bash in here, and then I can probably try and once I get like enough to actually run the action, then I want to
Yeah.
see if would it be okay if we set up a workflow file just in the main branch in order to be able to call out to this one? Because I don't actually can't remember if actions run in the context of branches or if they have to be in the main branch.
But just
Yeah, we
one.
might. You're right. Yeah, we'll try it
Yeah.
without, and then we'll just
But
see.
I think you're right though, because well, no, if you if the action, I mean, I'm just guessing
Mm-hmm.
here, but if we create a branch and we're doing all our work there, if we put
Mm-hmm.
up a pull request against the branch instead of the main, the workflow should kick in, I think. I'm not positive
Right.
because it'll be in
Right.
the context, like the base branch will be the branch that we created. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
know enough about the GitHub Actions if it really only runs the actions on main. I feel like that would probably make sense because then people could just open up pull requests and add GitHub Actions and do
Well,
stuff to your repo. I don't know.
yeah, I mentioned in here that we would run against pull request target event instead of
Sweep.
pull request, and the reason for that is kind of what they allude to in that events description. What
Yeah,
they're talking about is like you you want to run in one context, and it's the context of the base of the pull request rather than in inside the context of the repo, if that makes any sense. And so it doesn't have read write access, and it's exactly for what
yeah,
you're talking about to make sure that it doesn't, you know, a pull request doesn't have the power to modify the repo itself.
yeah. I
Um,
think that makes 100% sense from a security
yeah.
standpoint. Like, hey, I just created a GitHub action that deletes your repo.
Well,
So
I'm sure tomorrow you can ask Dougie about how that got exploited or how that, came to be a specific security concern.
yeah,
Because
I do know this past summer what happened was like because I remember this happening on the forum repository. People were opening up pull requests and trying to mine cryptocurrency,
that's, I think, what
and
it
and then as soon as that happened, they put in that safeguard. So now, like, if you have a repo now and somebody opens a pull request and it's their first pull request, you'll see a message when that pull request gets open. If you go visit the PR, it says I forget what it says, like first time contributor or something, and then you
Mhm.
as a maintainer of the project have to approve running it. So it gives you a chance to actually
Right.
look at the code to make sure
Make
nothing's
sure it
malicious.
does.
You know,
Yep.
it's the it's the usual. We can't have nice things because there's bad people. So
Yeah.
boo on you, bad people. All
Okay.
right, cool.
Well, I'm gonna try. What I've got here is I'm trying to say on line 21 here, we're gonna just set the login variable equal to this bracket syntax is letting you pull out the event data, so the
Okay.
github.event.pull-request.user.login. And then the thing that I'm trying to do next is I need to use the GitHub REST API with that login as part of the
Okay.
URL. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to say api.github.com/users/login. And then that would pipe it, like we said, to JQ and then to the TR utility and then to Echo, I guess. So
Yeah.
once we get this like tooled and working, then what this would in effect do is spit out the Twitter username for who that PR came from.
Yeah. Cool. Gotcha. And then just that alone's like a good chunk of it already.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a little bit of a base from which to work and
Sweep.
start to kind of
Sweep.
get stuff up and going. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna see what else I have here. I'm just gonna go ahead and commit it, I think.
Yeah. Cool. And just to recap what you were saying before, like you're gonna deploy the action on the main branch for now, right? Because
I'm
we
actually gonna try and see if I can put the workflow file on the feature branch and see if it'll let me run it. But it would be on the feature branch of the repo. So I mean it still
yeah, yeah,
would require, write access and stuff.
yeah, exactly. And I will drop our repo there just in case folks are wondering. There's the repo if folks want to check it out. I just have it on the screen right now. Matt's doing what he's doing. It should be big enough. Okay. So yeah, we got nothing in here right now. I just have issue templates and pull request templates.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and create a workflow file and then commit that as well.
Okay. So I've got your branch up here on screen, but you haven't pushed your stuff yet. Okay. Because you're one of the. Okay. Are you working out of? Oh yeah, I see it. Sorry, it's a subfolder. Okay, yeah. So we got the action YAML. Cool, cool. User will be replaced with Twitter username from GitHub. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I think because I will need to cut. It's not 4:30 yet, but I can probably stick around till like 4:45, 4:50 our my time. So like
Okay.
another 20 minutes probably. But then I'll have to
Okay.
drop off. But I think
Yeah.
if we can get this part here, and again, the goal for folks checking out the stream, it's not to finish this. It's we're just working at it kind of piecemeal. You know, we both are busy during the day too, so we're just doing this when we can. And yeah, I think the next time, well, we'll chat offline, but I have that test Twitter account, and it would probably make sense to just create the application on that test account for now, I guess, or I guess I could
Mhm.
put it on my own. Actually, I could put it on my own Twitter account because it would be just tweeting to this my test account anyways, but I
Yeah.
can go through that with you too if you've never done that. It's pretty straightforward. It's just like I always have to Google where to go in the Twitter API docs to create the app, but aside from that, it's pretty straightforward from what I remember.
Yeah, I am totally gonna go look up some of the workflows on open source because I can't even remember it offhand.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
it's
gonna
all
go.
good. I'm gonna just load up open source and I'm gonna share that in the repo in case people, sorry, not in the repo, in the Twitch chat.
Yeah, I'm pretty much looking inside of on open source. They've got .github/workflows, and then we've been doing a lot with this compliance.yaml file, so that's the one I'm gonna be messing with, at least as a basis.
Okay. Yeah, that's one you worked on recently, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
I've got that
really,
one loaded up.
Vortex, if he's still in the chat, he cleans up my messes. That's for damn sure. All right.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, you Vortex and BW were working in this. Okay, so I see here there's a permissions section where it says pull requests, right? So,
Yeah, I think
okay.
if I remember right, that one, the reason that we had it was so that it could do things like close the PR or
Okay.
make comments and stuff like that. I think is why it was on there, but I could be wrong. Good
That
job.
makes sense to like change the status, and you could probably even output a message if you needed to, like close because not compliant or
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And we didn't end up on that particular one. We didn't used to do the auto close stuff, though we could have, because it was running in the same context as like a welcome, for your first time or whatever. We didn't want to
Okay.
close it right. So anyway,
Yeah,
all
no,
right,
gotcha.
all right. This is gonna be runs on to latest. Apparently, there are options of Ubuntu versions that.
Yeah. So Ubuntu
User.
latest. Do you know what the needs? I'm looking at the compliance YAML file, and it says there's a section called needs, and it says semantics.
So yeah, the idea there is that it needs to make sure that the semantics thing has run already first before that part runs. I think is
Gotcha.
what that's for. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, repo
And that's a
keyword.
needs and if, those are kind of the things where you can use it to just sort of enforce dependencies. Like
Okay.
needs, I think just as like, hey, I need this thing to run first.
Yeah.
If I want to say is actually looking like at a true false value.
Okay, so this one is also there's a PR message. They're not tweeting out, but this one says thanks for your
Yeah,
contribution. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. This one is looking at like because we chose not to do the auto closes, we wanted to like make the phrasing a little bit different, and so that's why it's
Okay.
got those comments defined. Like the action itself already has those defined, but
Yeah.
they're defined as if you're going to close it, and so we kind of made it a little bit different. All right, so let's say I think nope, That's not what I wanted to paste. I was going to paste I cannot even talk and chew gum at the same time.
It's all good. It's all good. You kind of get used to it once you start streaming a bit, cause like I remember when I first started, it's like I was forgetting to check the chat. Like you can't really see me because I'm smaller right now in the screen, but I'm just checking out the chat. I have these little things on built into my stream that allows me to move these emojis on the screen. So I'm having fun curling on my own. But
I was
anyways,
going to say, I'm glad you're watching the chat because once again, I have no idea what they're saying.
we don't have a ton of people on right now. We got like
Okay.
four. It's been going between 4 and 5 people.
Got
Vortex
it.
has been on here. The others I don't know. I can see the numbers, but I don't know who's on. But I have a feeling it's a few of my friends from virtual coffee, which you're actually in now too. They're probably just
Okay.
lurking, showing some support, which is always appreciated.
Yeah.
It's also I haven't been streaming that much on my own stream because I've just been busy, and then like stream on the dev stream so. But I'm trying to get back into my own stream too because I'm enjoying. I love doing the dev stream, but it's kind of nice doing other stuff like this. Like we're building out something, or
Yep.
I might do some of my work on the stream maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel like
those work streams are fun. So I just tried it to push the workflow file as well.
okay.
And yeah,
Yeah,
it has to go on main. So do you want to put it
yeah.
on the repo itself or do you want to put it on a different one?
I'd say because it feels like it would be kind of weird to add it to the repo to test it before it's even merged on the repo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But
What I'll do
I know.
is, yeah, I think I'll create a separate repo. I know you can't, I don't know if you're watching the Twitch stream or not, but I'll just create a repository. I'll make it private and I'll invite you to it. So you'll probably need to check your email. Let's call it, let's do GH actions tester. It's to test our Git actions. I mean, it could be public. There's nothing to hide, but I'll just make it private for now because it's just kind of noise. And I'll just add a README so it actually actually, no, I'll just add a git ignore. We're not really going to be adding anything in here. So, oh, I need to select that, I guess. Why is it not? Okay.
I just added a couple of event types to that workflow file. So I had
Okay.
opened on there and I added closed and edited. And I
Okay.
need to, edit it a little bit more to put some extra stuff in there. Because I've
Gotcha,
definitely
gotcha.
found when you publish an action or you document it, that's definitely another thing to put in the docs is like, because the workflow file is going in somebody else's repo, that's the thing that you really need to lay out for an example of how to
Yeah,
use
yeah.
it. Like, this is what you're going to drop into your workflow file, and maybe you'll tweak this and maybe you'll tweak that, but
Whoops, actually, I'm not gonna, not that you can see my password when I do that, but I'm just gonna open up one password elsewhere because it's gonna show all my login credentials. Just one sec here. All right, let's do this. All right, and just because I don't see it right now, what's your GitHub username again? MT Foley or?
MT Foley, yeah.
Okay, there we go, Mr. Matt. Okay, so I added you to the repository. And cool. So yeah, you can accept that invite. So what do you think? Are we literally gonna just do a copy paste of the action and test it, and then or
I think
what do you
if
think?
you copy past the workflow file off of that feature branch into the repo that you want to test things in, then that would
Yeah.
give you the ability to start to test things out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's do
Immediately.
that. All right. So I want the action YAML file here. Cool. Okay, copied that. All right. Give me a sec here. New file. Where is it? Oh, whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Yeah. Add file. Create new file. GitHub action.yaml. Let's paste that in. Okay. All right. That's all there. Okay. That looks good. Okay. Let me just shrink this for a sec. It's down here. Testing. Horrible commit message. Testing. Okay. So the YAML file's in that repo now. So in theory, if I create a pull request,
Mhm.
oh, I gotta clone the repo. Hold on a sec here.
I think you
Just
can.
open up a code.
I was gonna say, can't you just open a PR from within the repo?
Yeah, you can. I
Like,
just have to create a branch though. Sec
uh,
here. I'll just open up a code space real quick here. Create a new branch.
oh,
So
before we get too far, the action.yaml. Let me say this. What we're gonna
yeah.
do is instead of having action.yaml inside of .github, you would
Yeah.
put workflows as a subdirectory, and then you'd rename actions.yaml to maybe like tweet.yaml. Do you want me to
Okay, yeah,
just make?
so that's fine. Yeah, go
Yeah, I
ahead
can
and do
make.
that. I'll
Okay.
commit the file here, and then that's a good catch. Thank you. As you
Yeah.
can see,
I got
I'm still a GitHub action noob. All right, so git commit, blah, blah.
what happened here. Okay. Yeah. I gotta see what's going on.
So github br create, yes. Oh, whoops, I just committed on master. That's why that, not master main. Let's try that again. Clear, git, reset, soft, head tilde1. Let me just check the chat. I've been ignoring the chat. Nope, it's just me doing my little game moves on my screen there. Okay, so, oh yeah, I did mean 2 dashes. Thank you, Git. Okay, let's do Git checkout test. All right, Git, and let's commit that. Clear. Let me zoom this in for the folks at home. Why is that not zooming in? Weird. I don't know why it's not letting me zoom in, but okay. PR create. If folks haven't seen this before, this is the GitHub CLI. It ships with the code spaces. It's super handy. If you don't know about it, definitely install it on your local machine. I use it all the time. I'm going to continue my PR in a new browser window, and I'm not going to create the PR yet until you let me know if are we good for the action.
I think so. So what I ended up doing was I kind of created that subdirectory in between, like we talked about with workflows, and then instead of putting the contents of the action.yaml that we've been working on, I put the contents of a
Yeah.
workflow file that refers to it. So
Okay.
that's what we're going to try with. So yeah, we should be good.
Okay, so I know you don't see the Twitch stream, but I have my pull request open and I'm about to create it. So here we go. Now I'm going to go to the actions tab just to see if, okay, so we see there's a workflow running. So if I click on
Mhm.
that, it says tweet number one, tweet YAML. So I'm just looking in the work. So it's running the job. Okay, so it said there was an error.
We had a
Okay.
broken pipe.
Oh, broken pipe. All right.
But
On the plus
you do
side,
have
we can rerun it, right?
stuff within that, within like the logs and stuff there. So I don't know if
Yeah, we
you
do.
have it pulled up, but I'm looking at it. So this was
Yeah, I
tweet number
saw.
one. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, you can read it. I have it open for the folks to see at home.
Cool. So yeah, we had an error apparently in our bash. We were passing something to the tr command, but before that, you can see that it tried to run that action that was referring to the org, then the repo, then the subdirectory, and then at the feature branch. And
Yeah.
the first command was to run that curl script that would try and, or actually not the curl script, but you were setting the login equal to GitHub username
Yeah.
off of the GitHub event. And then the second one was trying to go into that TR thing. So anyway, that's
Yes. I'm curious why
that.
that's broken. Yeah.
We were
No,
okay.
it's all good, and it's live. These things are meant to happen. I like it
Yeah.
when things like this happen because it's not like I have huge respect for people that do GitHub, not GitHub, YouTube content because it takes hours and hours, and the finished
Mhm.
product is like nothing goes wrong because it's a tutorial, which makes sense. But
Yeah.
that's why I kind of like when we do the live coding. It's like, oops, this didn't work. Let's try again, or let's see what happened. So it, like you said, it pulled the GitHub username. So my username, Nikki T Online. It looks like it ran the curl command. No, actually, that whole command probably didn't run because of the pipe failure, maybe. but I'm trying to see what doesn't look right there. I think like the pipes look fine. Like it should echo out the Twitter username, which in my case it's the same as my GitHub, but I'm guessing maybe it has. I
So
know
if you
no.
have a live share still
Hmm.
pulled up, I was going back to my little cheat sheet and I found the one that I had started with.
Okay.
And so at least what I was doing kind of inside the cheat sheet or whatever was instead of like trying to actually call it and go back to echo, I still don't really, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't really know why that didn't work. But this one is going to do is it's going to try to set handle, call it the GitHub handle equal to the output of curl going through JQ and then going through the TR command. So
Oh,
I
the TR command's slightly different. Oh no, wait, that's the curl. Okay, no, handle. No, that.
it's
Yeah,
similar. So again, it's something in echo. I don't know why. Somehow
yeah.
when it got piped to echo, it didn't work, or maybe it when it got piped to TR, I don't
Okay,
know.
cool.
But let me run this thing and we'll try it again with this one.
Okay. And the good thing
And
about
then
this actually is we can just keep the one pull request, like I can just rerun it, right? The job, because once it gets
yeah,
updated.
I don't know if you might be able to rerun it. Yeah, we'll try it that way. Instead of like trying to open and shut it or open and close the PR, we'll try and just let you rerun it straight from there. So
Yeah, because I'm not positive, but I would assume the rerun would pick up the updated action, but we'll find out. And then I'll just mention in terms of time check, hopefully we can
yep.
get this just to output the Twitter
Hmm.
username. And then I think from there we
Yep.
can kind of just wrap things
Yep.
up for today. And then, yeah, if
So
you're, I know next week is American Thanksgiving, so you're probably off. So, but we
we might be
can,
able. I think I'm off on Wednesday as well, so we might be able to do something on Wednesday. I'll get back to you about
okay, yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah, no worries, no worries. Cool.
I pushed that change, so hopefully, I think I
Okay, so
did, but
let's,
hopefully it should run
all right,
again.
all right. I'm just gonna say rerun all jobs because there's only one job. So
Yeah.
rerunning. Okay, there we go. Set up job.
Hmm.
It's yellow, it's not red, so that's better than red. It's just taking a second to
Yeah.
set up the job
I-
here.
So the thing that we didn't do is we didn't echo the handle.
Okay, well, if we don't echo it, but it runs successfully, we'll go with the
Then it's
assumption that it
probably
did
there.
get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, well, it says it's still setting up the job, but it appears to be green, so I'm just gonna refresh. Okay, yeah, it did run.
It looks right on my
Okay,
side, so yeah.
yeah. I guess if you got 1 second and just push the echo,
Yeah.
rerun that, it'll just be kind of satisfying to see it echoed out. That's all,
But
and
man,
then we'll
same.
call it a day. But this is really cool. I like it. You know, there's a lot of things going on here. I know we're just outputting a Twitter handle
Mhm.
right now, but there's a lot of moving parts in here. So I feel pretty good about all this.
You want to rerun it?
So far, so good.
Yay!
Yeah, it worked. Success. So for folks at home, I'll give a recap and of what happened there and fill in the holes if I did miss anything. So we're running this action in the context of a pull request. We're not checking if it's merged or anything right now. We're just saying it's a pull request, run this action. And then we're getting the username from GitHub that's associated to the pull request. Then we're saying hit the GitHub API through curl, and then we're going to get back the response there for my user. And then we're using the JQ to extract the Twitter handle through JQ, which is like it's like a JSON parser, I guess. And then we're just echoing out the value that I've found after trimming the quotes on it, I think.
Yep, you got it. That's exactly right.
Cool, cool.
You got it.
Well, I'm pretty happy with this. This is pretty cool, Matt. I know
Awesome.
I would like to keep going, but I do have to get my kid to swimming. So, but yeah, no, thanks again for hanging out. I'm learning a lot from you, so appreciate it. And
Yeah.
it's just fun. And
Yeah.
yeah, next time what we'll do is we'll get the Twitter API set up so that we can actually test a tweet maybe. And then I think once we got everything working at that point, then we can, we can look into adding some documentation and stuff too. But this is pretty good progress because we already have a template for like a message, and then we could even show like maybe not next stream or maybe, but showing here's the generic template, but if you want to have a custom one, you can do it here and stuff. So very cool.